creasing is unmistakable. When it's properly thawed, I can confirm it with a cytology test." He gave the pod another poke with his spatula. The ice was already melting in places to reveal a hard green casing. Stevenson stared at it, puzzled. "How deep in the permafrost was it?" he asked. "I'd guess about the 9th layer," replied Windlet, "which means it's been there at least 20,000 years." There was a moment's silence, as the significance of this remark sank in. All three men were experts in their field, but none of them had come up against anything like this before. The pod sat still and silent, glowing strangely in the rays of the ultraviolet lamp being used to thaw it out. "Well, it looks tropical to me, like a gourd," ventured Moberly. "Rubbish, Derek," said Windlet. "If it's the late Pleistocene period, it can't be tropical. It's a few million years since this part of the Antarctic was rainforest." "That's the accepted theory," said Moberly. "Discoveries like this have destroyed accepted theories before. Isn't that right, John?" Stevenson did not reply. He was staring fixedly at the pod, as if in a trance. "Something wrong?" asked Moberly, and he suddenly remembered the feeling of unease that came over him when he first handled the pod himself. Stevenson rubbed his head. "Don't you feel it?" he said slowly. There was a hint of fear in his voice. "Feel what?" said Windlet. "Something odd, strange, as if—" Stevenson struggled for the words. "As if there's some kind of other presence in the room." Windlet laughed. "Well, you're imagining things, John. Must be that rice pudding you had for lunch." Stevenson did not smile. "I'm not joking." He crouched over the pod as if mesmerized by it. Windlet and Moberly exchanged glances. They'd never seen Stevenson like this before. He was usually cool and level-headed, not given to wild imaginings. What had got into him? Suddenly Stevenson gave a cry and backed away from the pod. "I know what's wrong!" His voice dropped to a whisper. "It's alive! That thing is still alive!" He began pushing the others towards the door. "Wait a minute," said Windlet. "How can you tell?" "I don't know how, but I'm certain it's a living organism." Stevenson spoke with total conviction. "I'm going to transmit pictures to London. Come on." He strode out of the room. Windlet shrugged his shoulders and followed. Moberly remained at the door a moment, an anxious look on his face. Although he didn't like to admit it, he too found the pod worrying and somehow frightening. He glanced across at it. It lay there on the bench, silent and sinister, an unwelcome guest from the Earth's deep and hidden past. By 2 o'clock that same day, pictures of the pod, received direct by satellite from Antarctica, had succeeded in mystifying every botanical expert in England. Sir Colin Thackeray, head of the World Ecology Bureau, was beginning to think he was the victim of some gigantic hoax. In desperation, he'd finally told his deputy director, Dunbar, to get onto a chap called the Doctor, who worked for UNIT, United Nations Intelligence Task Force. "Bit of a long shot," Sir Colin had said, "but worth a try in the circumstances." It was understandable why Dunbar adopted a sceptical, even sarcastic attitude to the peculiar personage who invaded his office later that afternoon. Wearing a long red velvet coat, a broad-brimmed hat, and a large multicoloured scarf trailed over his shoulder, the Doctor hardly looked the picture of scientific eminence. Dunbar wondered if in fact this was the man Sir Colin had meant, or whether there'd been some mistake. He took the photographs of the pod from the filing cabinet. "I doubt very much if you can help us, Doctor," he began frostily. "These pictures have baffled all the experts. The only reasonable explanation seems to be that the pod comes from some extinct species of plant." The Doctor sprawled into a chair, dumped his feet on Dunbar's desk, and beamed a large friendly smile. "It is the sign of a tiny mind to look for reasonable explanations, Mr. Dunbar. The universe is full of unreasonable things, only capable of being explained unreasonably." Dunbar looked uncomfortable at this challenge to the normal processes of thought. "Consider for a moment," continued the Doctor, "the alternative hypothesis." He waved his arm airily. "Such as..."